Hello friends and enemies, welcome back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, here with another summer of collab. So you do get two back-to-back this week due to a Polycon. This is just kind of how our planning worked out for this one, and I'm really freaking excited about this one. So this one is of course with Tamika from Tamika's Library and our girl May over at ThisPastRomance, and this one was actually her idea. She came up with this premise and I personally love it. If you somehow don't follow May already or ThisPastRomance, she's the Captain America to my Bucky. She is the third in our little friend trio that goes to book events a lot together and has a channel, because the other person that goes with us does not have a channel. That's May. If you're somehow not familiar, you should definitely be checking her out. She reads a lot more contemporary than I do and a lot more like cartoon covers, but she's really good at giving proper content notes on those, along with noting when they're actually like super steamy and spicy. She's gotten me to read many of things I may not have otherwise picked up. But today's Summer of Collab theme I am seriously loving. I love that May came up with this, and it was tropes I hate but books I love. And I feel like this is just like a siren song to all romance readers. We always have a trope we don't like, but we can always name a book or two in that trope that we like. So I gathered up about 8 books today. This should be a fun one. I definitely am very excited to see what ones are on y'all's list as far as tropes you hate and books you love. So I'm just very, very excited. Let's dive right in with the first trope, which is friends to lovers. And this is a trope that for me, I do not like at all. Like at all. I do not gravitate to friends to lovers. It takes a lot for me to pick one up. Have I read a lot over time? Yes, I have. It's just not my go-to. And I still have many that are 5 stars that I've loved, and quite a few 4-star ones, and a lot more that are 3 or less. But it's just, for me, friends to lovers has no appeal. I like a good pining, but there has to be a really solid reasoning as to why they've never gotten together for me to like a friends to lovers book. Which brings us to Party Favors by Erin McKellen. This is the only Erin McKellen I've read yet, and I need to read more of her books. Caveat that now, I really do need to pick up more from her. But this one follows 2 friends who are friends online, and they end up getting together for New Year's Eve and deciding to hook up. And it is a great sapphic romance. It's very steamy, very spicy, very quick read. I absolutely loved this book, and I don't know why I haven't picked up more from her yet when I loved this one as much as I did, because the writing was fantastic, the setups was great, and the payoff was also delightful, and I felt like we got the right mix of sex and good times in them. Next in the friends to lovers category, we have Like Lovers Do by Tracy Livesay. This is a book that really surprised me and I really, really loved. The Girls Trip series is one that I recommend a lot from Tracy, but the second book in particular was a favorite. This features a friends to lovers situation. They're actually roommates. She agrees to go on this trip to the Cape with him. And it is basically just absolutely delightful all around. I had all the emotions when I read this, and I really loved the way the dynamic of like their friendship gradually moved towards a relationship. Of course, they also have sex in a hammock in this one, so if you haven't read that, that part alone is well worth your time to read because it is so freaking good. The hammock sex is bomb, so yeah, I absolutely loved this book. I cannot stop recommending the Girls Trip series from Tracy Livesay for the sheer reason of like the strong friend group, and then also each book has so far delivered on the other one extremely well. Next we have angsty romances, and this one isn't exactly angsty, but it is a level of stress that I don't normally read, and this is why you'll often hear me say I read one book by this author a year and that's it, and that is Kennedy Ryan, who I adore. I love her writing. I like her characters, but I personally am so stressed out by her books so often that I will literally pick up one a year. It is too emotional for me. I cry. I don't like crying. It is not for me. And so I wanted to talk about Long Shot, which I did give 5 stars to. I wasn't sure if I would love it as much as I did, and lo and behold, Long Shot was amazing. This book has a lot of content warnings though that you do need to going in. This does take a long time for them to get together. There is domestic abuse, there is attempted murder from a partner, like in domestic abuse situations. It is on page, it is graphic, it is descriptive. But we also get to see our characters find love after a really terrible situation. And Long Shot for me was just such a surprise because again, I didn't think that I would find a book that hit me this hard in the gut, and that I would still 5-star. because again, not my thing. Like, it is angsty, it is dramatic, it is not my favorite thing to read in any capacity, and yet I will never stop talking about Kennedy Ryan's books, and this book particularly I felt was very impactful and a strong book in and of itself. It's a really hard one to recommend though, again, because of all the content notes and warnings that need to go into it, but if you've been thinking about picking up Longshot and you're up to the task of having a lot of feelings, I highly recommend it. But yeah, this follows a basketball player who by chance meets this girl at a bar one night, and they slowly become friends, so it does also kind of count for friends to lovers. And then he finds out that she's dating the opponent, his rival, on the other team, and it follows their journey of slowly finding a way to be together and her to leave him. But again, it is a really bad situation, to a point at which I've not seen a situation that bad in many books. But it was really heartwarming and wonderful to read. Next, we have Small Town Romances, which I just, again, not something I gravitate towards. I've read some and they're fine. I've read some and they're really good. And one that I really, really loved is a sapphic small town romance called Fall Into You by Georgina Kirsten. This is just a really quick fall cozy read. It's very cute. It is about two former classmates, and one of them moves back home, and they're like at the fall festival and she recognizes her. It's just very sweet. It is very cute and sweet. It is still explicit though. Don't think me saying sweet means not explicit, because it's definitely explicit. And I really loved how their relationship evolved in this and where it went. It was just really, really heartwarming and adorable and precious, and all the things that I wanted out of this book. I don't have a lot. It's a great read for the cooler weather coming up, because it's definitely one you could just like curl up in a blanket and read in a sitting, so be sure to check it out. Then we have another trope I'm not huge on, but I do read a lot of somehow sometimes, and that's royalty. I feel like I go in phases with royalty. I used to read a lot more royalty when I was newer into my romantic journey, but now it's kind of more seldom that I pick it up. I think I have 1 or 2 royalty books on my TBR this year, like on my like radar TBR, so there's that. First we have Twisted Games by Anna Wong, which is basically, she even pitches it as this. It's the Princess Diaries 2 but adult, and I really loved this. This follows Bridget, our princess, who in an unplanned fashion has to take the crown because her brother steps down to be with the love of his life, and we follow her journey as she has to go back home from Washington DC and navigate this thing. And she has this really great bodyguard, Reese, who they both like each other, but they're in big time denial about it, and we have to navigate, are they able to be together or not because of his heritage? Is he something different than we think he is, perhaps? And there's like a way for them to be together and her to still take the throne. We'd work through that a lot. And this one for me, I think the reason I loved it so much, even though it was royalty, is we weren't so focused on the royalty aspect. We were kind of focused on her navigating life now that she had to take on this new role, which obviously was a very stressful role to have to take on. So I understand that part of it too. But it was just overall a really fun time and a really enjoyable read. Another series that I don't stop talking about and is royal themed is The Reluctant Royals by Alyssa Cole. It starts with The Princess in Theory. If you haven't read this somehow, you are missing out. This series is so good, and I think, again, similar to Twisted Games, the reason this works for me is these aren't necessarily people who want to be royals, but they're kind of stuck with it, you know, and they have to find their way through it and find their way out of it, slash to manage it, like not out of it, like through it and like to live. This one, the first one, A Princess in Theory, follows a girl who is working in a lab and waitressing at like a catering place. And she gets this email that she assumes is a spam email, like the I'm a Nigerian prince email, but it's not spam. He's actually a prince that's looking for her. Her family vanished from their home country years ago, and this is how he finds her and then proceeds to basically integrate himself into her life to make her be around him. And they were betrothed, I believe. Either way, it's so freaking good. And then the second book is a grumpy duke who doesn't know he's a duke, and a character we meet in book 1 who has ADHD and is fan-freaking-tastic on page. I adore her. I saw myself a lot in this character. Portia Tavish? I cannot remember his name. But anyways, so they she goes over there to go for like a swordsmithing like internship thing and helps run their social media. Turns out he's actually a duke. Again, reluctantly royal. Really works well here, and this one was fantastic. And then Johan is the final book, and I cannot remember her name. Also fantastic. I really like, this is a series that, though it follows royals, is so spectacularly good, and all the novellas are solid too. Like there's 2 novellas in this series and they're both really good. If you somehow just like have missed these books, I really highly encourage you to go check them out, especially if you're a royalty hesitant fan like me. All right, and our last trope is Rockstar, which I think is the trope I dislike the most and avoid the most. I don't talk about it a ton here, but my partner has done many a tours and been in many a bands and done that whole thing pre like their corporate life now, and it makes it hard to read rockstar romances because I know how rare to hit that level of rock stardom is, and I also know how hard it can be to be in that relationship. I just like, I don't know, I know too much of the magic and what goes into making a rock star and like a band popular and all. Like I know too much now. Know way too much. So it can just be very hard for me to read these. But there are 2 series that I really, really love in a specific book. So the series I want to briefly touch on is Stage Dive by Kylie Scott. Now, I give these like 3.5, 4 stars as I read them. They're not amazing or groundbreaking, but these are like the most popcorn rock star books you could read. And I really enjoy that aspect of them. Like they are so freaking good. I particularly liked Lead, I believe is the 4th book. It's the lead singer's book, and I don't generally like lead singers. Yeah, so Lead is the lead singer's book, and he is like a recovering addict, and his coworker is like his helper person is like, I'm gonna leave because we can't keep this like professional necessarily. And it just, like I said, this whole series went down like popcorn in the best way. In the absolute best way. And I really didn't hate the 4th book, which is Deep, which has a basis here, which is my personal preference. But it did have, again, these are just kind of messy, but they're popcorn reads. Like you will blow through this whole series in like a week or less. So I think it's one of those ones that's like, though I don't absolutely adore every single book in this series, it's one of those series that I feel like is worth mentioning because there's not a lot of series I 3-star and finish all of them, like 3 to 4-star them and finish them all. So I feel like this is one that, again, if you're curious or you want a really quick series to blow through, it is worth your time. Next we have Kristen Callahan's Idol series. My personal favorite that we will be talking about, and I still need to read the last 2, is Managed. This follows Scotty, and he is the grumpiest of grumps. Oh my goodness, he is so grumpy, and he's the manager of the band, and our new social media manager ends up being someone they didn't realize she was. She happened to be present for the overdose of a character we witness in book 1, and they don't know this going in, obviously. This is one of my all-time 6-star favorite books. I do give it a 4-star on Goodreads because of the use of some ableist language. I will note that. But this is the like, I'm super grumpy, she's super sunshine, I can't sleep without you tropes. Oh my gosh, it's off the charts. Sophie Darling is our main character. Sophie is like a pinup style girl who really, you know, just kind of takes Scotty by storm in the best way. She they end up sitting next to each other on their flight, first class to London, and he's scared of flying, and she like just yaps his ear off so he's not nervous. And this book is precious. I mean, it is just precious. And if you have been watching my channel for any length of time, you know this is an all-time favorite of mine, and if you haven't read it yet, I need you to fix that because this book is amazing. This also features just like, again, he's just so buttoned up. Scotty is everything. I freaking love Scotty. Freaking love Scotty. Oh. But yeah, this one just for me, like the way it all plays out, it's like perfect. It is just perfect. I felt like it showed a lot of the work behind the scenes of like keeping a band together, which I think was really interesting to see. We don't get that a lot in our Rockstar romances. And I just felt like how grumpy and buttoned up Scotty was compared to Sophie, who's just kind of living life, but also here to terrorize him, was chef's kiss perfection. So freaking good, y'all. All right, so those are the books with tropes I hate, but books I love. Let me know one of yours in the comments, and if you don't want to do that, leave me a skull emoji. And I will have links to all these books in that description box, as well as links to be verified anywhere on the internet, links to May and Tamika's videos, and I will talk to y'all in just a few days. Bye!
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get